Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Business Innovators Radio. I'm your host, Donna Gunter. Today we have with us Carl Weisman, author of The Intelligent Home Seller. Every home seller who uses what this book teaches can pocket a few extra $1,000 from the sale of their home. Just one paragraph alone on page 131 should save every home seller who reads it a minimum of $2,000. But this book is especially valuable for those selling homes over $300,000. Lots of books teach you how to get your home sold. This is the only one that teaches you how to keep more of your money. It is time to put an end to the industry's outdated customs, and The Intelligent Home Seller shows you the way. Carl Weisman has written 4 books and has been on radio and television. Previously, he was a sales trainer who taught real estate agents how to market themselves and how to overcome buyer and seller objections. Now, Mr. Weisman is committed to making a dramatic change in the real estate industry by educating and empowering home sellers to ensure the agent-seller relationship is more fair for both parties. Welcome to the show, Carl.
Well, it's good to be here, Donna.
Well, Carl, I'm excited to have you here because we're getting in the market to be selling our home in the next couple of years. So I'm going to really pick your brain while you're on this call with me. Cool. As an author, I like to start off with the same question that I ask all my authors. What made you write this book?
Well, Donna, I wrote The Intelligent Home Seller because I saw a problem and I wanted to fix it. And the only way I could think to do that was through education. The reason I know it's such a problem is because I hear so many people complain about it. Did you know that a survey conducted by Google showed 67% of consumers do not trust real estate agents? That's a pretty big problem. It pains me to see hardworking people save years for a down payment, then make mortgage payments for many more years to accumulate the smallest amount of equity in their home, only to squander it away when it comes time to sell. There is no reason anyone should have to pay $20,000 or $30,000 or $40,000 to sell their home, not with the information freely available today. The Intelligent Home Seller solves that problem, Donna.
Well, that's good information to know. Well, in the introduction, I talked a little bit about some outdated customs in the real estate industry. Can you tell us about what those outdated customs are and how you propose to fix those? Sure. You know what? I could talk about it forever, but I want to talk about one of the outdated customs that's really kind of out there. And the Intelligent Home Seller is the only one that talks about this. And right now, the custom is that the agent dictates the commission. Okay, they say this is what I charge, and it's 6%, and that's how the world works. The Intelligent Home Seller takes an entirely different spin on it. Imagine you are a small business owner, and you wanted to hire a temporary employee to do a job for you, which, if you think about it, that's what you're doing when you hire a real estate agent. You're hiring a temporary employee to do a job for you. If you were going to hire an employee, who would dictate that compensation? You or the employee? Well, yeah. I mean, you're going to do it as the employer, of course. Right, exactly. So I think that the Intelligent Home Seller takes the approach that, you know what, you're hiring somebody, you dictate the commission. When I went to sell my $700,000 home in Southern California, the customary commission to pay the listing agent was 3%. Okay, that's $21,000, roughly. I said, you know what, that's crazy. That's not a fair amount. I think a fair amount would be about $6,000. So what I did, I established the compensation for the temporary employee of $6,000. And I said, look, real estate agents, this is what I'm paying somebody to sell my home. How many of you are interested? And I had 12 people contacted me. I interviewed 6. I picked the best one, and I was done. So the common myth that the real estate agent dictates the commission is gone. You, as the home seller, can dictate what you want to pay at a fair price to the agent. And the reason it works is because there's too many of them. And what they know is if they're not interested in that commission, some other agent will be. And I got to tell you, there's a lot of agents that would like to make $6,000 this month. So the biggest myth is that the real estate agent has to dictate the commission. You as the home seller can dictate it. Carl, does that matter on that around the commission, regardless of how the economy is doing around home sales? You know, I don't know what Southern California is like. I know at one time, the home sales were down there a lot, and I know, we've talked about that you moved back to Texas, and Texas is in a building frenzy, sometimes so that it's like a
a buyer's market. There's not enough inventory on the block. So does the economy make a difference in how willing real estate agents are to subject themselves to a lower commission?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's 100% dictated by the industry, by the economy. Think about it. If you need a bookkeeper and there are no bookkeepers available, you've got to offer a lot of, $30, $40, $50 an hour to get a bookkeeper. On the other hand, if you need a bookkeeper and there's hundreds of them looking for a job, you can offer less. And that's exactly, what the book teaches is, look, when I went to sell my home, I went to Realtor.com and they have an agent search feature. Okay. You can find agents in your area. I entered the zip code. Okay. And I did a search, and you know what came back? 653 real estate agents in my zip code.
Wow.
What I was sure about, Donna, was that of 653 real estate agents, I could find a handful that were willing to make $6,000 next month. Okay? So to answer your question, of course it depends on the market, but it also depends on the supply of real estate agents. And in most markets, there's too many of them. And there's no reason anybody should overpay when the supply is that great.
Right. Yeah, that's a great way of looking at that. I'd never thought about, I guess, kind of interviewing real estate agents like I would a potential employee. So talk a little bit about that interview process. What kinds of questions did you ask them, and what were the determining factors for you to make that final decision?
Great questions. First of all, I want to let listeners know that on the reallisting.com website, there's a resource page, and I actually have 30 different interview questions. Actually, there's more than 30 that you can use. It's a free download to interview real estate agents. And I got to tell you, these are not cream puff questions. These are questions that are going to make real estate agents squirm. The whole purpose of these questions is to make sure that the real estate agent is truly on your side. One of the problems in the real estate industry is most real estate agents are not truly on your side. Why is that? It's not that they're bad people or they don't want to be on your side. It's that the relationship you have with the real estate agent lasts 30 to 60 days. The relationship the real estate agent has with the other agents in the community lasts years or decades. They are highly incentivized to make sure the other real estate agents like them because they have to cooperate on so many deals. So at the end of the day, they're representing you and they want to make you happy, but they also want to make the other agents really, really happy. And so their allegiances tend to lean toward making the other agents happy at your expense. And these questions help ferret it out. A classic example of one of those questions, and I insist that every home seller ask this, is you ask this question to a potential listing agent. You say, look, if I was going to tell you that I'm going to offer less than customary commission to the buyer's agent, as a seller, we're required to pay for the buyer's agent here, or we're expected to pay for the buyer's agent, I should say. If I told you I was going to offer less than customary commission, would you support me 100% or try to talk me out of it? Explain to me it's not in my best interest. Well, most real estate agents are going to tell you, look, it's not in your best interest to do that. And I appreciate that. But what they're saying with that answer is the most important thing to them is that you make their job easy. And the least important thing to them is how much money you as a home seller pocket. Now, is that somebody you want representing you who really cares more about their career and making other agents happy? Or do you want someone who's really looking out for you and your money and your best interests? Those are the types of questions you want to ask.
Yeah, you want the person.
Most home sellers don't know the questions to ask. Exactly.
Yeah, it sounds like it. So I know there are some agents that seem to specialize in being an agent for the buyer. Are they really looking out for the buyer when they advertise themselves that way, or is it just another way to get a client?
No, they're looking to get buyers for sure, okay, when they advertise for buyers. The problem is, because the buyer is paid by the seller, it creates huge conflicts of interest. Did you know the United States and Canada are the only two countries on the planet that expect the seller to pay for the buyer's agent? In the United Kingdom, where sellers just pay for the seller's agent, it costs them about 1% commission to sell a home. In the U.S., we're expected to pay for the buyer's agent, it costs 6%. 6 times as much money to sell a home here as in the U.K. Now, is the American consumer really getting 6 times the value? No. And the problem is the seller's paying for the buyer's agent. And because of that, the real allegiance the buyer's agent has is to the buyer, to the seller. Okay, actually, legally, the buyer's agent works for the seller. And so what you have is you could have a situation where if I offered less commission to the buyer's agent, that buyer would steer their buyer away from seeing my home, so they're not really getting good representation. On the other hand, if the buyer paid for their own buyer's agent, none of that would happen. There wouldn't be a conflict of interest. So, buyers' agents try to do well by their buyer, but they're put in a position where it's a gigantic conflict of interest, where they're really kind of working for the seller and trying to serve the buyer. And you can't really serve two masters. So, buyers' agents,
It's a complex position, it sounds like, to be in, for sure.
Yeah, in fact, there's so many research articles that have been done by really, really famous people. Not Stephen Governor, the other guy who wrote Freakonomics. He was at Stanford. He did a bunch of research on all these conflicts of interest. And he pointed out why it costs so much to sell a home here in the U.S. compared to everywhere else. And it basically comes down to one thing: expecting the seller to pay for the buyer's agent. Not only does it cost the seller 6 times as much, but it punishes the buyer because they're not getting very honest representation. And so that's one of the things I'm really trying to fix in the real estate industry. I'm not anti-agent. I just think the person receiving the service should pay for the service. And that's one of the things the intelligent home seller talks about.
Well, Carl, does your book talk at all about that home seller who wants to sell his house by himself without the use of an agent?
Oh, absolutely. I don't advocate for sale by owners. I'm not against them. I point out a lot of the pitfalls. The biggest problem any home seller faces when they want to do something out of the ordinary in the real estate industry is what I call buyer steering. Okay? Real estate agents don't want to see for sale by owners succeed, because if they do, word will get out and everybody will do it. And so what happens is you've got 2 problems with for sale by owner. One is the real estate agents don't want you to succeed, so they try to keep their buyers away. Second of all, you've got buyers that are fundamentally uncomfortable with going into a house when the owner's there. So, you're in this position where you're trying to sell your home and sell it for top dollar, and you can't because a lot of buyers won't come to see it. The other problem you have is it's pretty easy to save money on the listing agent. So, for instance, let's say you're expected to spend 6% commission. Okay, that's 3 for the buyer, 3 for the seller. Well, it's very easy to find a listing agent that'll do it for 1%. Okay, so now I'm down to 4%, 3 of which goes to the buyer's agent. Even if I sell it myself, I still have to pay I'm still expected to pay the 3% that goes to the buyer's agent. So I'm not even really saving that much money for sale, as doing a for sale by owner, and I'm incurring all these problems of buyer steering and uncomfortable buyers. Okay, so I actually have an appendix in the book that teaches for sale by owners how to make their home not look like a for sale by owner, so it doesn't scare anybody away. So if you want to do it, fine. But there's really no need to do it if you read The Intelligent Home Seller, because you'll save plenty of money using a real estate agent.
Well, Carl, it sounds like you've covered all avenues there for anybody selling a home. That's great information to have. If there was one thing that you really, really think that home sellers should be aware of, as they're going into the marketplace today, what would that be? In terms of maybe a big stumbling block that they face, or again, some misconception that they might not be aware of?
Yeah, I'm going to tell you the greatest misconception. After all, I've done years and years of research, including talking to a lot of real estate agents. And I asked them, how come people, buyers and sellers, especially sellers, don't shop around for a better price? And it comes down to believing in what I call the big lie. And the big lie is this: you get what you pay for. The problem is the real estate industry has home sellers so freaked out that they're literally afraid to save money. Like some horrible thing will happen. What's interesting though, Consumer Reports, and I love Consumer Reports because they're a nonprofit, completely independent research looking out for consumers. They don't answer to anybody, so when they do research, you can trust them. You know what they found? That sellers who paid 3% were just as satisfied as those who paid 6%. Paying 3% did not hurt the quality of service, but more importantly, those who paid 6% were more likely to have regrets about the selling process. Wow. In other words, you actually get less than what you pay for. If you really, really want to feel disappointed and let down and ripped off when you sell your home, pay 6%. you got to stop being afraid to shop around. And the reason people are afraid to shop around is because, A, they don't do it very often, sell a home, and they're kind of, I hate to use the word, but they're ignorant of the home selling process. They don't know the steps. They don't know the details. That's what the intelligent home seller does. When you get done reading the book, you know the steps. You know what a good real estate agent looks like. You know what a bad real estate agent looks like. You know what to expect from them. Now you can make your decisions out of education and confidence. Okay, and so now that you know what a good one looks like, let's go shopping around for price. Let's see if we can't find a good one at a discounted price.
Well, Carl, if you happen to get into a situation where you have a real estate agent and then maybe the seller comes across your book and reads that and has kind of an uh-oh moment, is there any safe way, equitable way to get out of what might be a bad relationship and get into a better relationship without, I guess, damaging your reputation among real estate agents?
Oh, I wouldn't worry about your reputation amongst real estate agents. No matter how hard you are to work with, some real estate agent will work with you, because I did an analysis and I found out that if every real estate agent in the United States worked full time and all they did was help buyers and sellers, the number of real estate agents it would take to help buyers and sellers sell all the homes that get sold in a year is 200,000. That's how many full-time real estate agents it actually takes to buy and sell all the homes in the United States. The problem, of course, is that there's a million real estate agents. So there's five times too many real estate agents. Okay. And so, yeah, you don't really have to worry about, ticking off a real estate agent because there's so many of them. There'll always be plenty who desperately want your business. But that's not the issue. The issue is that if you've already signed a listing agreement, you can always get out of it. Nobody can force you to sell your home. You can cancel it at any time, even though it says 3 months or 6 months on there. The problem you have is this. Let's say you signed a 6-month listing agreement, and a month later you cancel, and then a month after that you hire a different agent and sell your home. The first agent's probably going to come back and sue you, and they're going to want a piece of that commission. So it really is better to start clean, know what you're doing, and get the agent to agree to your price up front. As any good negotiator knows, whoever speaks first in negotiation wins, because there's this thing called the anchoring process. Okay, whenever you negotiate, if I say I'll pay you $100, all the negotiations start at $100 and go from there. And the chances are the negotiation is going to end up near $100. So when a real estate agent says they charge you 3%, that's it. They've anchored you. All negotiations start from 3% and probably end up close to that. On the other hand, if you speak first and you say, look, I'm willing to pay you $5,000 to sell my home, then you've anchored them. All negotiations start at $5,000 and end up, and where you end up will end up close to that. So it's imperative for sellers who want to save money, they have to go first. They have to establish the price, and everybody who's interested can start to negotiate from that point, which is why you don't want to sign your listing agreement until you've negotiated the price. You don't sign the listing agreement and then ask the real estate agent, can you lower your price? You say, this is what I'm paying. Once we shake on that, then we can sign the listing agreement.
Wow, that's an interesting way of negotiation. I guess I'd never heard that. Typically what I'd always heard around negotiation is he who names the price first loses. So you've got a completely different take on that.
Exactly. Well, in this case, because I have supply and demand on my side, and I know that there's 5 times too many real estate agents out there, and if whoever turns down my offer, my response to that is next, because I know some real estate agents interested in making $5,000 or $6,000 this month, because there's going to be 80% of them are going to make nothing this month.
And those 80% are making nothing because the market is oversaturated and there's not enough inventory for them to sell, or something else?
Well, there's 2 things. First of all, there's too many real estate agents. Like I said, either 80%, either 20% of the real estate agents are doing all the work, or at any given time, 20% of them are working and 80% of them aren't, because there's just too many of them. And to complicate matters, it's tight inventory in not all, but many, many markets. So that exasperates the problem. But that's a benefit to a home seller, because there's so little inventory and there's so many real estate agents. There's no reason anybody would pay full price for anything in that situation.
Exactly. Well, how are real estate agents reacting to this? I mean, well, obviously in your particular experience, you had a number lined up to represent you, to sell your house for the amount of money that you had set. Is that a typical experience with people, or do you have to work a little harder to find real estate agents who might be willing to do that?
Well, they'll all do it, but they won't advertise it and they won't be happy about it. Okay? Because the way the real estate industry works is it's all kind of based on manipulation. For instance, when you create a contract with a listing agent and you offer to pay them $5, okay, what you offer to pay the listing agent should be private. It's a contract between you and them, and nobody else needs to know about it. The best that I can tell, it is illegal to make that information private on the MLSs. Why can't I make it invisible? It should be invisible. It's just between me and the agent. Well, why is it made visible? Because they want the other agents to be able to conduct retribution on that agent and get them back in line and say, hey, stop taking such low prices. It affects everybody. So a lot of it, there's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot, and I talk about all the little sneaky things they do in the real estate industry to keep prices artificially high, and I teach people what to do about it. But really, forewarned is forearmed. You need to know about how these things work. Even though it's impossible to make the listing agent's commission invisible, do you know it's against the MLS rules to make the buyer's agent commission visible? You're not allowed to tell anybody what the buyer's not allowed to know what the buyer's agent makes. Can you imagine hiring somebody and not knowing what they make? And all these little rules are there to keep consumers in the dark and to keep prices artificially high. Look, anybody that's spending $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 to sell a home today is clearly being manipulated because, who pays $1,000 or $2,000 an hour for a real estate agent? The best surgeons in America don't make that. It just makes no sense.
Well, Carl, I'm glad we've had you here today to clear up some misconceptions about the real estate industry and what people can do to, like you, as your book says, to be the intelligent home seller. If people and our listeners want to know more information about you and your book, how will they get in contact with you?
Well, if you want to find the book, it's on Amazon. It's called The Intelligent Home Seller. It sells for a stout $2.99. So I try to make it affordable to absolutely everybody. If you want to reach me, you can go to realisting.com. That's realisting.com, and there's an email form there. I encourage all your listeners, ask me questions. I tell people I have a very different motivation than the people that buy my book. The people that buy my book want to save money, and that's why I wrote the book, and I want you to save money. But my motivation, I'm trying to fix a broken industry. And every person that I can turn into an intelligent home seller helps me fix the industry. So if you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. I want to help you be the intelligent home seller.
And Carl, I know you have a free home pricing workbook. Why don't you tell our listeners how to get that as well? I think that would be really useful for them. Really useful.
Of all the things I teach in the book, the things I teach the most are if you get the price of your home wrong, when you go to set the price of your home, you get it wrong, nothing else matters. Doesn't matter what you negotiate with a real estate agent. Doesn't matter how you market the house. Everything gets wiped out completely because you priced your home wrong. And most homeowners have a terrible approach to pricing their home. They have an emotional attachment to it that makes them think it's worth more than it is. They think you should price it high to give yourself some room to come down. And these are huge mistakes that cost them thousands and tens of thousands of dollars. So I created a workbook that made everything objective. Say, look, here we're going to use all these online resources that are free. I'm going to walk you step by step. I'm going to show you exactly what numbers to put in here, and you're going to know exactly what to price your home at so that you don't make any of those mistakes. So I created this workbook. I said, you know what, I'm going to make it for free, and I want everybody to have access to it. And to find it, just go to realisting.com/workbook.
Well, that's an incredible resource, and I'm going to check that out for sure, since we're about to put our house on the market as well. So, Carl, I thank you for joining me today on Business Innovators Radio, and I thank all of you who joined us for today's episode of Business Innovators Radio. Have a great day.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.